Hello my beautiful friends, welcome back to Dainty Gifts School of Decor and Decoupage. Today I have a slightly different video for you. Arteza, which is the art supply company that we're talking about today, were really kind and reached out to me and asked me if I would want to review any of their products. And since you guys know, here on my channel we use a lot of acrylic paints, of course I said yes, let's have a look at your acrylic paints, let's see what's going on. So I actually painted quite a few pieces using these paints just to be sure that I made my mind up properly and I was sure about everything that I wanted to say about these paints to give you the best possible information, of course. I filmed using Arteza paints on 2 different pieces, so at the beginning of the video you're going to watch the jewellery box, and then the second half of the video is going to be the wooden Christmas bunting that I made. And without any further ado, let's jump into the review. So as you may have already seen from the thumbnail, I got sent their acrylic paints and their iridescent paints. I'm going to start with acrylic paints and I'm going to start with all of the pros. I have written them down in my notebook just to make sure that I don't kind of miss off any points. The first pro that I noticed before I even got the paints themselves is the packaging. So these acrylic paints come in like these little pouches, kind of like baby food pouches that you can just squeeze out. And I think that it's a much easier way to get paint out, and since you can actually squeeze it all the way, kind of like you would a baby food pouch, you can make sure that you get almost all of the paint out of your pouch. So it minimizes the waste. The box of paints that I got, I had 14 different shades of paints, and they are all 120 milliliters, which is a good generous amount of paint. So it is going to last you quite a while, especially if you use these kind of paints in the same way as I do usually. In case if you didn't know, my usual preferred way of using paint for crafting is I buy some kind of white chalk paint, any chalk paint that I can get my hands on, and then I use acrylics to mix that white chalk paint into the shade that I need. So typically I wouldn't just be using acrylic paints straight, I would be mixing them with a different chalk paint. And the main 2 reasons why I do that is because I personally really like the feel of chalk paints, and I find that it is way more cost effective this way rather than buying all sorts of different shades of chalk paints. They usually come in really big tins and are quite expensive, and then acrylic paints tend to come in smaller pouches, which if I just use them straight, I'm gonna run out quite quickly. So I find that this is what works best for me personally. So 120 ml pouches that Arteza paints come in are gonna last you a while. Another thing that I really liked is the range of different shades and colors that you get. So you get all the classics, the red, the yellow ochre, burnt umber, black, white, gold, silver, etc. So it gives you a really good selection to be able to mix any kind of paint that you need to mix. Another pro is that these can be purchased in open stock, so you could start off by buying a bundle of 14 paints, and if you find that you use one of the paints more than the others, you can just buy the replacement of that single color, so you don't have to keep buying the big bundle every time you run out of any kind of shade. I must say that after I got these paints, I realized that they also have a separate craft acrylic paint range, which I didn't try out. So as far as I understand, this is more geared towards artists that paint on canvas, etc. So these paints have a very creamy consistency, which would work really well on canvas, which in one way is a pro in terms of that it works really well through stencils. So the creamy consistency allows you to apply this paint through stencils in one go, and you don't need to do anything else. And now we're going into the cons. The creamy consistency is also a bit of a con. When you're trying to get a nice even finish without any brush strokes, it's virtually impossible unless you use a lot of water, so you have to keep dipping your brush into water to water it down and make it a little bit more spreadable. Another thing that I noticed is that phthalo blue and phthalo green colors were very uneven. When I first swatched the colors, it took me about 3 coats to get a relatively even application. But then again, when I mixed in phthalo green into the mix of this jewellery box that I made, it worked really well. Another thing that I forgot to mention about the creamy consistency is that it's really hard on dry brushing, so the brush gets really wet really quickly, and it just kind of drags the paint around. And then a con that is kind of personal to me, I don't know if any of you guys are the same as me, but I personally prefer my paints to be kind of either satin or matte, preferably matte, whereas these paints are very glossy. So for me, if I was to use these paints straight, I'm definitely gonna have to use some kind of flat varnish to go over the top of it. And now let's talk about the iridescent paints, which I absolutely loved so much, and they are definitely gonna be a staple on my desk here and in my works because they are just absolutely beautiful. I don't even have any cons to say really about these paints. They are absolutely gorgeous. Essentially they are like metallic paints, but they are quite sheer, which in this case is actually good because it allows you to build up the coverage that you need, and depending on the coverage, depending on how many layers that you apply, you get a different color, which is so much fun in my opinion. I absolutely love the fact that you guys know that I like to add a little bit of the mysterious element of, you know, just add some mediums together and see what happens. And the fact that these paints look so different on lighter surfaces compared to dark surfaces is just what I need in my life. These paints blend really nicely. Like on this jewelry box in this video, I blended together the blue and the yellow and I mixed them together, and I just love it so much. Yeah, and I am definitely going to use these a lot, especially with the Christmas season coming up, and who doesn't want a little bit of shimmer and sparkle on their Christmas tree and in their Christmas decor? So yeah, I'm definitely gonna use them. And yeah, I think that is all I wanted to say today in this review. I hope that this was helpful to those of you that might be wondering about Arteza brand. Some of you who have followed me for a long time from my colouring days will know that I absolutely love Arteza colouring pencils. They are definitely my favourites right after polychromos, and so when they reached out to me, I was really happy to try out more of their product and see if I would like them just as much. And iridescent paints definitely up there with the Arteza pencils. Just a few more things before we say bye. There is going to be a discount code in the description down below for you to use in case if you wanted to try out any of these paints or any of the other Arteza product for yourself. Disclaimer, it is an affiliate code, so if you do purchase something, then I may get a tiny commission. As always guys, if you would like to follow me on any of the social media, if you don't already, links for that are going to be in the description as well. Let me know if you have any suggestions for future videos. Lots of love from my house to yours, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!